here. Okay, and let me know if it.
I think we can hear. Can you hear your papers?
Like make some noise.
Yeah.
Sweet, testing. No, we good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Today is August 26th at 6:30. We'll now call the City of Mulberry Planning Commission meeting to order. And with us is Chris Atkins, Matt Alexander, Kristen O'Rear. Mr. Joe Bodner is not here with us today. We do have a quorum. Commissioners, I now make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for this evening. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, I have a second. Now call for a vote. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the meeting agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Commissioners, I now will entertain a motion, now we'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 22nd meeting. I have a motion. Do I have a second? A second. All right, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the last meeting minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0, unanimous. Planning Commissioner comments to each Planning Commissioner. Does anyone have any comments that they would like to make? No. No, seeing none, we'll move on. All right, now I will open the period for public comments. Please reserve your comments related to a specific agenda item when I call for that agenda item. Comments to the Planning Commission should be limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker. Groups wishing to address an issue should select 1 or 2 spokespersons. The time allowed for all issues shall not exceed 15 minutes. Issues raised at this time are generally referred to the Secretary for review. Responses will not be provided will be provided at a later date. I now make a motion to close or to, let's see here. Does anyone want to speak? Anyone? I now will make a motion to close the period for public comments. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. I now have a motion and a second, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, say nay. It passes 4-0. All right. Old business. There is no old business for this meeting, so we'll move directly into the new business section. Our first item of new business is as follows. An ordinance to enable equestrian residential and equestrian commercial districts to adopt revisions to the base residential and base non-residential district dimensional standards, permitted uses for base residential and non-residential district, and other general amendments to the city's existing Unified Development Code. Staff, I will now ask you to present the staff analysis and your recommendations.
Hey, good evening, Commission. It's great to be here tonight. Chair, it's great to officially meet you. I don't think you've been at a previous meeting I was at, so. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of go ahead and talk you through these text amendments and also give you a little context regarding the items in your packet. One thing we did provide was the previous staff report and the comprehensive plan amendment that went previously before City Council. So there is no action needed on that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. It was more just supportive documents for the proposed text amendments. The first one, as you stated, Chair, is text amendment 07, and we completed these revisions to align portions of the Unified Development Ordinance with the revisions made to the comprehensive plan. So that included enabling 2 new zoning districts, the equestrian residential district and the equestrian commercial district. That aligns with the comprehensive plan's recommendation. It said an agricultural district, but as we kind of refined and spoke a little more with city council and other parties, it became more apparent that it was more equestrian based, so we kind of refined that a little in the ordinance itself. So we provided the purpose and intent for each of those districts, and then we went through and updated the dimensional standards for the base residential districts and the base commercial districts. Now, you will note that we included the equestrian commercial as part of your base residential, and that's really because the uses that are permitted under that equestrian commercial really align with that more equestrian environment. It's not a true commercial zone, so we wanted to be very specific and very tailored about the uses that we enable to be permitted there and kind of keep it with the original intent. So we did make some adjustments to the minimum lot sizes and then the density thresholds. Chair Swain did point out there is a little bit of a conflict between the R60 and the R75 with the density thresholds and the minimum lot sizes. And as we kind of as staff internally discussed that more, we feel like there is a conflict, but at the end of the day, those minimum lot sizes are kind of what really regulates and sets those minimum standards. So, in hindsight, we would actually recommend removing a minimum or a maximum density for all of the residential zoning districts that have a minimum lot size. Because really that minimum lot size is what's going to regulate
Right.
as opposed to the density. So to reduce any confusion, if you do choose to recommend approval and move this to city council, we would recommend just striking the EQR, EQC, RA200, R60, and R75, RSR as well. All of those density maximums, and just allow those minimum lot sizes to determine the density. Now the R townhome, the RTH, RIF, and LRR, those can all be regulated by that density maximum, as there's no minimum lot size requirement there. So that will be determined by the density. The rest of the adjustments we made to the lot widths, the building coverages, the setbacks, that was really just to kind of align more of a, with the comprehensive plan. We increased some of the minimum lot sizes, and just made some of, I noticed some of those track changes didn't go the way I wanted. But we increased some of them and just made some minor adjustments to them. The numbers there are correct, I just don't have some of the deletions for the, oh no, I wouldn't have deletions for EQR and EQC because those are, sorry, confused myself there. And then what that led us to do is also go through these permitted uses within your base residential districts and look at what would be appropriate in these two new districts. We didn't make a ton of changes to the other uses in this table. We made some small refinements, but for the most part, we left them pretty much intact as it is. And there are, when you look at the use table, there are 3 different types of classifications on there. A P equals a permitted use, an S is a special use that requires a special use permit, and then the L is a limited use, which has supplemental requirements. So that's kind of how they're all delineated. Some may have a special use and then still have some supplemental standards as well. And then we did the same in going through those limited uses and those supplemental regulations. We refined some of them, reorganized it a little. And we added the 20-10 or 2010-140.24. We grouped lodging establishments, including bed and breakfast, and then cottages, rental cottages together, since that made sense to kind of classify them together. And we also, that's the major change we did, is kind of putting that in there. in future updates, we will likely refine some of these actual supplemental standards more, but at this point, we just wanted to make sure we got the dimensional standards in those districts enabled so that they can be requested as part of the rezoning process. Continuing on, we kind of repeated the same for your commercial districts. We made some minor changes to section 211, the dimensional standards for the base non-residential districts. And then section 12-30, the special residential zoning districts, we adjusted the T&D district.
That was 12-30, you said?
Yes. 12-30. For the modifications to the T&D, we essentially reduced the overall density, added a lot size and lot width, and kind of just refined that again to be more aligned with the comprehensive plan. So those are really the changes we made to the dimensional standards and kind of the justification for why based on the comprehensive plan. Some other just general amendments we added. We made a cross-reference to the noise ordinance just related to construction hours and activities so that it's very clear that there are regulations on the book, even though they aren't explicitly spelled out in the UDO, they still do apply. We also included an exemption for accessory structures that are less than 120 square feet to kind of just refine how those they don't have to be inspected. You do need to obtain a building permit so that we know, but building code doesn't require inspections or for that size. So if it is just like a storage shed with no electrical, it's not on a permanent foundation, it's on blocks or something, kind of like those prefab buildings you may get from Home Depot. You can kind of move that in. We're not gonna send inspectors out. You'll just have to get a minor permit so that we can say, hey, you need to meet these setbacks. But just kind of providing a little relief there. And those are the adjustments to the UDO. So that is text amendment 0-7. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on that.
In section 212-30,
Yes.
there were no changes to the OSC lot size. Is it possible, or any reason why there couldn't be, making it uniform with, or 10,890 being the smallest lot available even in OSC versus a 5,000 square foot lot?
We can certainly look into that. That would, the density is really managed, I think, manages the overall, yes, we can increase it. I think the smaller lot size was just to kind of do that more clustered conservation type development, but that is something we could look at adjusting. You could provide a recommendation to city council,
Okay.
and then staff can, in between now and the council meeting, do a little more research. But you could request that we make adjustments to that district.
So, I've got a few.
Yes.
First of all, you sort of clarified, because part of my question is why do we not have max density in part of them and some in the other? So that didn't make sense. So that makes sense to pull that out.
Yeah.
Terry, we did talk a little bit, I guess, as far as the townhomes and the multifamily, low-rise multifamily. I mean, it looks like, that really just sort of discourages, because it would be kind of hard to even do something for.
It may be, this was to be aligned with what the comprehensive plan recommended, and in those character areas which permitted these districts, the maximum density was 4, so we just wanted to make sure it was clear.
Is that something that, like, say, there was a city center or something like that, where it was appropriate to do more? Is that something to make a variance for, or how would that?
So I think we would probably recommend at that point that we look to see if a planned development
Or
district, the PUD, would work, because that allows the kind of flexibility and the applicant to submit the dimensional standards, and whether it's a mixture of uses and kind of really that special situation.
And then I also noticed in the senior oriented dwelling, would that, if somebody, say, wanted to come in and build like an independent or an assisted or something like that,
Mhm.
you know, it really isn't possible with that, would we just use a different classification on that, or is that something we're just?
So, it's the limited use, so you're talking about the supplemental standards and how it would
Mhm.
apply to these base districts?
Right.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't go into detail about all of these supplemental standards, so some of these changes may have had impact on the use of, you know, the further regulations. Senior oriented, so senior
It looks like
oriented
it's
is
more
only
towards-
permitted in the equestrian districts and then.
It's, I think they're finding the, there's an additional,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the RSR, which is that senior residential
Mhm.
district.
the senior oriented
Yeah.
residential. Yeah, that one looks like it was in the traditional neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so the RSR. I mean, it does have that maximum of 4 dwelling units per acre, so,
I just wondered, you know, with obviously population getting older and stuff, and, you know, things like that aren't going away, is that something, you know, if somebody did wanna come in and do, say, an assisted living or something like that, you know, I guess you could go towards a different zoning on it, more institutional or something, but.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look at how those interact together. I mean, I think I don't see anything in the supplemental regulations that would prevent them from doing it
Mhm.
at the 4 dwelling units per acre. But again, that density may not
Yeah.
serve the purpose that they want. So they could then look at, the office, probably the institutional district as an alternative or a planned development. But we could also, you could ask us to take a further look into it and look at that impact.
And then the only other one I had was, and you sort of explained it, but I'm just still curious about, like, when we talk about the city being an equestrian kind of, so, you know, I realize a lot of that probably is, small farms, you know, people just having, but if, you know, is there an intent that it's like more to the outside, so people could come here for like equestrian events or something like that?
Yeah, so that's why we kind of had the 2 different equestrian districts. That residential would be more those larger estate lots, horse farms, those sorts of things. And then the opportunity would be there to add a commercial component through that ERC or EQC district, which would provide those outside.
So that sort of comes to the other comment that basically, it's specifically in that EQC prohibits any kind of rental, short-term rental stuff in there, like hotels and things like that, so.
So what,
It sort
the
of seems
way
like a little
we,
bit of a conflict.
the way we regulated that was to permit bed and breakfast facilities or, that would be that kind of smaller scale, more residential nature. Or we added the rental cottages in case there was like a golf course development or some sort of large estate with equestrian stables and, you know, riding trails. So that there could be little rental cottages, but not the full scale hotel, that larger intensity, that would be more suited for a true commercial district. So there would be a little bit of accommodation.
Okay.
Do we have a hotel in the city? No?
I don't think so, we do.
Okay.
Probably the mall where they belong.
Okay, that's all, that's just questions I had.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion, or I'll now make a motion to open the public comment period. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Can I take a vote for all in favor to open the public comment section, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, now we have the public comment section. Do we have anybody here who would Let's see here. Are any in opposition? Hang on. When I hear from those in favor of the amendment, please.
I'm in favor.
All right. All right, please state your name and your address.
I'm Ryan Lapper. I live at 928 Wintrace Lane in District 4 of Mulberry. First, I want to congratulate the mayor, the city council, and the planning commission for taking these important steps to preserve not just the rural and agricultural feel of Mulberry, but to help preserve some of the historically significant areas of our city. My comments tonight are in regard to the city of Mulberry future development map. I don't know if it's been redrawn since what's been posted on the website, but from what I've looked at, the character areas that are defined, in particular the equestrian and rural estate classification, with the established equestrian areas with Little Mulberry Park, there are some adjacent parcels to Little Mulberry Park that I think would be better suited to be part of that the rural estate classification instead of I think on the map it's called an executive residential. But I think we have a unique opportunity being next to the park with the horse trails and things being next to the parcels being next to that would bring in people like maybe a UGA equestrian rehabilitation center or something like that, instead of having residences there, have something more suited to match what's at Mulberry Park. And I think, you know, Mulberry could become an equestrian hub for North Georgia. I mean, being in the center of North Georgia like that. I think they would align perfectly with that equestrian rural estate classification. I highlighted these parcels on a map that I sent, I think, to the city council previously, and I don't think I caught you guys on that email, but I can send that to you as well, the parcels that I'm talking about. Those would be adjacent to the, on Clack Road, the parcels on Clack Road, and then around the corner to Mineral Springs. I know there may be some negotiations with the current developer on what may restrict that classification, but I think if we can drive toward that direction, I think it would be beneficial. Again, thanks to the city of Mulberry for your efforts. I really appreciate what you guys are doing to preserve the heritage of our area.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Do we have anybody here in opposition for the amendment? Now we'll make a motion to close the public comment period. Do I get a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of closing the public comment period, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, thank you. Now, the public comment period is now closed. I will make a motion and a second on the matter to allow for discussion by the commission. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. All those in favor of discussion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, any discussion?
I mean, I think, you know, I think there could be a few things that we could have them at least look at. You know, I'd be curious on just the senior, just because it is becoming, you know, a growing population. I do think we need to pay attention to that and make sure that we're addressing it properly. And then probably the same thing that you brought up,
Right.
you know, that we, and
Okay.
Just here so I can
perfect.
engage.
Okay, what are those specifically that we want to know?
I would just say that they at least look at how, senior housing is addressed, you know, not necessarily just in cottage, but, you know, probably more importantly, when you start getting into assisted living, memory care, because those don't technically fall into complete medical, but, you know, just that we're at least addressing it.
Okay, so looking at those, the 210-160, number 16, look at how those are in the, enabled here. Do you want us to look at the dimensional standards and the density? Or like
Units
what
per acre.
direction?
I think density is probably the one I would look at the most, just because when you start getting into, you know, that type product and stuff, sometimes, you know, they're smaller, but they also may have a little more density, but they don't really go out and do anything, so, anyway, just
So
a thought.
maybe if we are going to not have a maximum density there, maybe look at what the minimum lot size
Right,
is and potentially reduce it.
Yeah.
Or go the opposite way and not
Sure.
regulate a lot size and just do a density.
right, I think either one of those could be.
And what I can also do is, I don't have the commercial
And
supplemental,
it
like
may
use
be-
table or.
Right.
So I think probably those more institutional uses are covered in the commercial. So I can follow up to email to
Okay.
the commission and
Yeah.
kind of let you all know
Okay.
how,
And it
that
may be
other-
completely addressed, so.
yeah, yeah,
Just looking at this standalone.
I understand.
So Chris, is that something that you want to have resolved before we vote, or is that more something that you
No,
want to
I
start
think
for
it's just
future?
more of a, I'd just like to see a little more information when it goes
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
city council,
Okay.
that it's just understood.
Right,
and that
some
we
some
can-
more research.
So I can follow up via email and
Yeah, that's
then
perfect.
we can provide an update to city council,
That's
just. of
That
your
doesn't need to go on the
comments.
motion.
Yeah.
Does it?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, and then I've got, in section 21230, BOSC, increase the lot size to 10,890.
Okay.
Yeah. Is the max density a conflict there as well?
It shouldn't
I don't
be
think so, from
because
what I
of
looked at.
2 dwelling units an acre. It should be.
I was just thinking-
43,680 square feet
Yeah.
an acre, so.
Cause we removed the max density on the residential ones, was what we were
So we
talking
need
about.
to, actually
right?
need to make sure we call that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cause
that's
you're
fine.
gonna, cause you wanted to, I think Terry, what I understood is
Right.
you wanted to address the max density conflicts that are in 210-140, right?
That's right, and
Is
it
that
can,
your
we can strip that out
recommendation?
of both of those.
Yeah, just take the
212,
max
30.
out, so we wanna take the max out here as well, to be consistent.
Mhm.
In
On
the
these-
1230,
Yeah.
for both,
1230 for both, I think, because it
Yeah,
would be the
so
same
same purpose,
thing
so the
as,
same purpose.
okay.
we would go to the minimum lot, so
Minimum lot.
the maximum density
Mhm.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
And just sort of a comment, I realize that this map really isn't what we're doing here, but since Brian brought it up, just, you know, it definitely looks like the map's been much more refined from the last time it came before us. Is that something that's gonna continue to happen based on, you know, individual?
So, what we did for this amendment was just really a quick update to get something on the books with DCA and be
Mhm.
compliant with state standards. We are going to do a more full-blown comprehensive plan for the city, I believe during the next fiscal year, for adoption at the end of 2026.
Yes.
So that will be a larger, more engaged public process where we will do continued refinement to the character areas in the future land use map. For individual zonings, if the future land use is inconsistent, will they be doing map amendments for individual parcels?
Probably not
Yeah.
at this point, but some guidance that we did add probably between when you guys saw the, amendment, or the amendment and when it was adopted by city council. There's commentary about the kind of border areas that identifies, you know, because we needed to get something in place for, you know, this process, that the border areas in particular could have some variation in what should be there. And so if there is any kind of consideration, certainly the least intensive would be the priority
Mhm.
selection, but that city council during the review process, when the comp plan is activated, that they could consider different character areas based the boundary. But there's probably also an interim, update that we might consider as well by the end of this year.
Long answer is, or short answer is, there will still be refinement,
Okay.
yes.
Are there any current rezoning applications in process due to the old? No?
No rezonings, no. We have two change in conditions. One that was before you all last meeting, one that will be before you in September. None of those relate to the dimensional standards. We do have one variance case that's looking to reduce the rear yard setback on a parcel, but it is already a submitted application, so it will be under the previous, not these standards.
So everything from this point forward will be,
Yes.
assuming, or
Yes,
if it is approved.
If it is approved by mayor and council, yes, upon that effective date.
Well, overall, I say good job. I mean, I like seeing all the lot sizes increasing and, you know, I think there's a lot of progress in here too. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, I make the motion to close the discussion by the commission section. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. I now move to approve the adoption of text amendments to the city's Unified Development Ordinance to enable equestrian residential district and equestrian commercial ordinance to update the base residential and base non-residential district dimensional standards, to update the permitted uses for base residential and non-residential districts, and other general amendments in the existing code. Amendments to add are in section, the senior housing, address, and I believe that's section 210, 160, 16. And then in section 212-30, the OSC lot size enlarged to 10,890 square feet. And to remove the maximum density for both OSC and TND. And to remove the maximum density requirements in section 210, 140 for, I need to list all of them.
If you don't mind, just so it's
Sure.
record clear.
EQR, EQC, RA 200, R75, R60, and RSR.
Thank you.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
second.
No. Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right. Next item of business is an ordinance to adopt revisions to the telecommunication requirements of the city's Unified Development Code for the purpose of revising the tall structure permit procedures. Staff, I'll now ask you to present your staff analysis and recommendations.
Thank you. One quick thing, I was just told we have one rezoning from RA 200 to R100 for a 2-lot subdivision. That has already been submitted, so it would be under that 15,000 square foot minimum, just to make sure you were aware. But it's just 2 lots. Okay, now related to text amendment 08, the tall structure permit procedures. So this is how cell phone towers are regulated within the city. The request we have that kind of initiated this is a tower that has a justifiable need. It's a low coverage area, so they have support at the federal level, I think, to support this request moving forward. But as we kind of dug into chapter 58 telecommunications, we just noticed some inconsistencies between the zoning ordinance or the Unified Development Ordinance with advertising and notification procedures, and then just kind of some dated practices within the ordinance. So we just made some quick adjustments One of the requirements was a review of an application by a radio frequency engineer, and again, that just provides justification that the tower is warranted. And so rather than the city taking that on as a responsibility, we transferred that to the applicant responsibility, putting it as part of their application requirements. And then we just aligned the public hearing procedures to be consistent with what is required in the UDO, so that it is not confusing and we're not trying to manage different advertising standards. So what that did is it did eliminate a community meeting and notification letter to the community. Well, historically, those were probably best practices. A lot of these ordinances were written when cell towers first were coming out and it was a much larger concern. By doing a community meeting that's not really regulated by the city itself, it's almost giving a false hope, or especially in a situation like this where it's a warranted need at the federal level, there's not a whole lot that can come out of that meeting. So we thought it would be best to kind of regulate that internally, allow the public comments to occur during this platform. And it also just kind of aligned the timelines to be more consistent with what we already have before you. So those were the two major changes in there, and just kind of some clarification, just cleanup. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I didn't really have any questions other than just, I think that from what I read in here, I guess that there has to be a need for somebody and they have to go, is my understanding right, that they have to go to other towers and make sure that those towers can't fill those needs?
Yeah, so they have to do a lot of justification for why a new tower is required. You first look for the co-location on other existing towers, the radio frequency report, and justification of needs state, they can't co-locate, or if they could, it doesn't actually provide the coverage needed to provide the level of service.
And so even I noticed in there, you can increase the other towers, so I guess you have to also show that increasing those towers wouldn't take care of the same thing.
Yeah.
It was just,
Anything else?
No.
All right. I will now make a motion to open the public comment period. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The public comment section on this note is now open. Do we have anybody who is here for or against? Yeah. Not hearing anyone here or for or against, I will now make a motion to close the public comment section. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of closing the public comment section, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Here. I now want to make a motion in a second to allow for discussion by the commission. I make a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All
Thanks,
those-
Chris.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now we have a open time to discuss with the planning commission. Does anybody have any discussion? All right, I'll make a motion to close the discussion section. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of closing the discussion section, say signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right. I move to make a motion to approve the adoption of the text amendments to the city's telecommunication ordinance. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Commissioners, that concludes our business for this meeting. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn, I will now make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. The time now is 7:09. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.